Much. The gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Timmons, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Chairman Powell, for being with us today. Congratulations on being confirmed to your second term as chair. We got some rocky times ahead. Wish you luck. Last time you were here, we discussed how rising interest rates really inflates debt servicing costs for the federal government. And I know what you're going to say. That's a concern for fiscal policymakers, the Congress, to take into account, not the Fed. And that is mostly true. But I still think it's worth everyone being fully aware of just how costly servicing our debt will be now that interest rates are returning to historically normal levels. According to the CBO, interest payments on the debt are the fastest growing part of the federal budget. CBO projects that servicing our debt will cost taxpayers $8.1 trillion of the 10-year budget window, $8.1 trillion. And their inflation assumptions are projected interest rates are fairly lower than current levels and quite a bit lower than where rates are likely headed to get inflation under control. And I thank you for your efforts to get inflation under control, but for every half percentage point rate hike, that is an estimated $133 billion of annual increases. I'm going to say that again, $133 billion in annual increase in debt servicing costs. That is just a staggering amount of money. So we, Congress, must get our fiscal house in order. We have to. There is no other option. The dollar's position in the world as the global reserve currency is solid, and there are no immediate signs of that changing. But if we continue on our current trajectory, that will not always be a given. So my question is, are you worried that if our current fiscal path continues, which I should note with each rate hike it looks worse and worse, that the dollar's position in the world could be challenged in the long term? Is that a concern?
Certainly in the long term. The dollar is the reserve currency, and I don't see it as particularly under threat at the moment, given the advantages that we have, which are many. But you're right, the U.S. federal budget is on an unsustainable path, and we will have to deal with it. The sooner the better. And unsustainable just means that the debt is growing faster than the economy, which by definition, over time, can't be sustained.
Thank you. For the record, I also want to follow up. You stated the following as Congress considered the Biden stimulus. Quote, in addition, workers and households who struggle to find their place in the post-pandemic economy are likely to need continued support. The same is true for many small businesses that are likely to prosper again once the pandemic is behind us. That was from your speech on February 10th of 2021. I just wanted to add that in for the record. One final question. During a meeting last week at the International Association of Insurance Supervisors, the IAIS issued a consultation paper on comparability criteria looking at the use of international capital standard versus the aggregation method. As you know, the U.S. has committed to using an aggregation-like approach here in the U.S. through the National Association of Insurance Commissioners Group capita calculation and the Fed's proposed building block approach. Moreover, the EU and the UK, through their covered agreements with the US, recognize these approaches to group capital. Nevertheless, Insurance Europe, a federation of European insurers representing more than 95% of the European market, takes the view that there cannot be two versions of an international capital standard. So my question is this: will you continue to advocate and support the aggregation method as an alternative to the international capital standard?
So I think I'm a little rusty on that, but I will say this. I know that we're strongly committed to capital standards that work for U.S. insurance companies.
I get that, but I guess what I'm getting at is we have a different way of regulating insurance here in the U.S. We all know that, and it works for us, and we do not need to let these international bodies change our way of doing things. We need you to stand up for the American way of doing things and for American businesses. Can you commit to doing that?
So I think that's what we're doing. So,
okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I yield back.
Thank you.